art is propaganda, but not all propaganda is art. Such is the claim made by the renowned author George Orwell in his writings from the era of 1940. It's a statement that holds a degree of truth that becomes clear upon closer inspection. Consider the infamous book Mein Kampf, an embodiment of propaganda, yet its content is far from artistic. It's a testament to the fact that not all propaganda possesses the creativity, elegance, the finesse that characterizes art. The concept of art and propaganda intersecting is fascinating. Indeed, there are pieces of art masterfully created that hold the essence of propaganda. These art forms disseminate messages, express ideologies, and attempt to sway public opinion. But does that truly make them propaganda? Or are they merely an artist's expression packaged in a form that resonates with the masses? However, we must also consider our modern era. In the world today, renowned artworks seldom serve governmental purposes. They might advocate for causes, movements, or ideologies, but their inherent value is not dictated by such promotions. It's not their endorsement of a cause that gives them their esteemed status, but rather their inherent aesthetic and emotional appeal, their artistic merit. Nonetheless, propaganda, at its core, is a tool of persuasion. And in the hands of a skilled artist, that tool can give birth to a masterpiece. The modern, globally acclaimed books that intertwine art with propaganda, subtly or overtly, remind us that there's a sliver of validity embedded in Orwell's statement. However, there are books that partially vindicate Orwell's assertion. Throughout history, governments and ideological groups have often influenced the literary world by encouraging authors to write works of propaganda or promoting their writings for political ends. This influence has been so profound that it even played a significant role during some of the world's most volatile periods, such as the Cold War. This epoch saw Western intelligence agencies actively subsidizing authors, some of whom are now considered literary greats. One standout example of this is the Central Intelligence Agency, CIA. As part of their clandestine operations, they established literary magazines in strategic locations across the world, France, Japan, and Africa, to name a few. The underlying purpose of these magazines wasn't merely to foster a love for literature, but to counter censorship imposed by autocratic regimes and subtly promote Western values, ideologies, and aims. Moreover, it wasn't just the CIA that used literature as an instrument of influence. British intelligence services followed a similar approach. They commissioned works of fiction that subtly propagated the benefits of empire, helping to solidify their rule and control over numerous nations worldwide. The fascinating aspect of this approach is that the author's involvement varied. Some writers were fully conscious of their role as state instruments and willingly lent their pens to the cause. In contrast, others were completely oblivious that their work was being used and promoted by governments or groups to further a political agenda. Some writers consciously offered their pens to the state, while others were unaware that their work would be promoted by governments or groups. Here are 6 books, all written by authors of considerable talent and integrity, that can be considered works of propaganda in one way or another. Each book is marked by the author's unique voice and powerful narrative drive. From dazzling historical narratives to thought-provoking science fiction, these 6 books transport the reader to different eras, different worlds, and different perspectives. First, there's George Orwell's 1984, a dystopian novel that paints a bleak picture of a future under totalitarian rule. Here, propaganda is shown as a tool used by the government to control and manipulate the populace. Next, we find Aldous Huxley's Brave New World, another dystopian narrative where propaganda takes on a subtler but equally sinister form, shaping the society's perceptions of happiness and freedom. Then we come across The Wave by Todd Strasser, a cautionary tale about the dangers of groupthink and the power of persuasion. It's inspired by a real-life social experiment that spiraled out of control. Moving on, we have Animal Farm, also by George Orwell. This allegorical novel is a scathing critique of totalitarianism, where the pigs use propaganda to justify their actions and maintain their rule over the other animals. Our fifth book, Fahrenheit 451 by Ray Bradbury, is set in a future where books are outlawed. Here the government uses propaganda to keep the citizens ignorant and placid. Lastly, there's All Quiet on the Western Front by Erich Maria Remarque, a World War I novel that challenges the glorified image of war often propagated by governments and societies. These books, each a masterpiece in its own right, drive home the point that propaganda is not a tool of truth, but a manipulative weapon, often used by those in power. Indeed, they are a testament to the fact that literature can be a powerful medium to call out societal issues and inspire change. All of these are written by authors of merit, and each can be considered works of propaganda in one way or another. Next up, we're excited to introduce videos by renowned Professor Ali Inan, known for his insightful analysis on the subjects of propaganda, misinformation, disinformation, and the abuse of art. So stay tuned for these enlightening videos.